Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, IP Tech Lab. This is the very first video on my channel, and I'm excited to have you join me on this journey of learning Python. So, today we are going to be learning set data type in Python. So, whether you are just starting out with Python or you're looking to sharpen your skills, this tutorial will give you all the info you need to get started with sets in Python. And this is just the beginning. In the upcoming tutorials, we'll be starting Python from scratch. We'll be covering everything you need to know to get started, from installing Python, setting up your IDE, to learning core concepts like loops, functions, conditions, and much more. So everything will be explained step by step. So now, before we jump into the sets, let's quickly go over some key concepts which you should be familiar with, because today's tutorial is intended for those who have some basic Python knowledge. And don't worry if you're not quite there yet, because I'll be covering all the concepts in my future upcoming tutorials. So feel free to stick around. And so for that, I have this prerequisites, which you must be familiar with before you can jump into learning sets in Python. So first is data types. So you must know what data types are in Python and how they work, like integers, floats, strings, and lists. And next thing is using print statements. So you should be familiar with the print function, how it works, and how to generate the output in your console. So next is understanding functions and methods. So you must know how functions and methods work in Python, how to pass parameters to a function, and how the function return values, right? Next is comments in Python. So we have single line comments, we have multi-line comments, we have doc strings. You should know how to write comments in Python. And next is the loops. So you should be familiar with how for loops work and while loops work to iterate over any data. And next is the conditional statements. So you must understand how the if, else, and elif conditions work, the statements work. And next is the operators. So there are many operators in Python, like arithmetic operator, logical comparison operators, etc. So you just need to have some basic idea of how operators work in Python. Um, so if you're not sure of any of these concepts yet, don't worry, because again, I'll be posting videos on these topics soon. So you can catch up at that time. Now, if you are comfortable with these basic topics, then we are all set to dive into learning set data types in Python. So for that, let me minimize this. So before we begin with sets, make sure you have Python installed in your system, and you must have any development environment like PyCharm or Visual Studio Code or any other IDE which you are comfortable with. So I know most of the people like Visual Studio Code, but for Python, I am using PyCharm here. So this is my PyCharm, which is an integrated development environment for Python. And here I have created a Python YT project. So this is my project. And then in this project, I do a right click here and I go to new and let me create a Python package. And I will name my package as data types. All right. So I got my package here. Now inside the data types package, I right click here and I go to new and I go to create a Python file here. So let me name that file as set underscore data type. All right. So here we go. So this is our first set data type set.py. It is a Python file where we are gonna learn about set. So I have some notes over here which I made for this video, and then let's get to know some introduction to sets in Python, its characteristics and uses of sets. So let me just get it over here. Okay, so set data type. So what is a set? A set is basically a collection of data which is both unordered and unindexed. So what it means? Now let me give you an example of a list first. So if assuming you are already familiar with a list, so let's say this is my list with three integers, 10, 20, and 30. Now list is an ordered collection and it is indexed. So like this 10 element 10 integer, which is an integer, it is at 0 index, and at 1 index is 20 and the second index is 30 here. So whenever we try to print uh, the 0 index element here by the indexing concept, so then you try to run this file and you get the element 10. And the same way, if we try to access the element at 1 index, then you run it and you'll get 20, right? So there is indexing concept in a list, but it doesn't work with the sets, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And the second point says that sets are written with curly braces. So how sets are written? So let me use curly braces here, and let me use some data in the set. So this is a set having three elements, which are integers, and sets use curly braces. Now, the same concept which we were using with a list is not going to work with a set. So like if I'm trying to access the element at 0 index for a set, and if I try to run this, you can see here it gives you a type error, which means that set object is not subscriptable. It means indexing concept is not there in the set. That's why it says it is unindexed. And let me add two more elements here, like 40 and 50. And if I try to print just the set as it is here, let me save it and I try to run it. So you see, like the order of the elements which we added here is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. But when I'm trying to print the set, so how it is returning you? It is returning in any random order. So that's what it is meant by when it says unordered. So basically, it can return any order of these elements. These elements will not be returned in the same order like we have mentioned here, right? So it is unordered and unindexed. Now, other thing, in the point number 2 here is written. It is written with curly braces, which I have showed you. This is how sets are written as. And next thing is that they don't contain duplicates. So duplicates, let me try to add duplicates. Like let me try to add 10 again, and let me try to add 40 again. Now here you can see technically it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 elements in there in the set. But two of them are duplicates, like 10 is repeating here again, and then 40 again is repeating here. So when I will try to print this set doesn't contain duplicates. Though, so what it's going to do is it is not going to give us an error, but instead it will, when I try to print a set, it will only show you the unique elements. It will ignore the duplicates. So let me try to run it. And you can see here the 10 and 40, which we were repeating, it's only coming once over here. So basically, set doesn't allow any duplicates. But instead of this, if this was not a set and if this was a list with square brackets uh, right here, if this was a list like square brackets, then I try to save it and try to run it. You can see even the duplicates are allowed in a list. And it is printing out in the same order as we defined the list over here on line number 15 in our code, right? So list is a collection which is an ordered collection which is indexed, which follows the indexing concept, and also the duplicates are allowed in a list. But in case of the set, we just saw it is not allowed. Now, point number 3, sets are mutable. So just like a list, uh, if you already know a list, so we what we can do is in a list we can add elements, we can modify elements, we can remove elements from a list. And when we can do all these things, that means that uh, object, a list object, is mutable. Mutable means whenever you can change, update, delete, or remove or add an element into that collection, then it becomes, that object becomes mutable. So just like list. So if you remember, list has a method called append. And then what basically append does is like whatever element you are going to add here, like let me try to add 60 here. So it is going to append this 60 to the last as a last element in a list. And then when you try to print L1 again, right? And then when I try to run it, you can see the 60 element, it is appended to the end, right? Okay. So just like we saw list, we can add elements to a list. The same way list have other methods where we can delete, we can remove elements from a list. So this makes the list object mutable, right? So the same things we can do with set as well, which we are going to learn when we are going to start learning the methods of sets. So I will show you how we can add elements to a set, how we can remove elements from a set, and that would mean if we can do all those things with a set, those things are going to make sets mutable as well. And whenever any object is immutable, that means we cannot modify, we cannot add or remove any elements from that object, right? So just like a tuple is an example of immutable object. Okay. So now, next point, number 4. It says a list cannot be a part of the set element because it is not hashable. Now, hashable is kind of a different concept. Uh, so right now, we don't have to worry about what hashable means because I am going to make a separate video on hashing concept and I will be taking sets as an example in that video. So, but for now, the only point we should understand is that if it is a set, like let me take a set here, comma 20, comma 30, and then these are the three integers, and let me try to take a list inside a set. Like let's say I take a list of 40 and 50, right? So now if you see here, my set has three elements integers, and the fourth element of a set is a list, right? But when I try to print the set, it's, let me see. So it says, as you can see, it's giving you a type error and it says unhashable type list. So basically a list object cannot be a part of a set, right? So Only thing, this is the only thing we should remember right now, and I will explain the hashing concept later in my tutorials, right? For sure. Next thing is sets are iterable. So basically means what iterable means is that we can loop through that object. So basically, whenever we use for loops, we use while loops. We can only use for loops on iterable objects. For example, lists, sets, dictionaries, tuples. All these are examples of iterable objects where we can traverse back and forth into by iterating into that object, and we can access individual elements from those collections, like from list, from sets, from tuple, right? So it's not like an integer. Integer is something which is not iterable because integer is just a single number. So we cannot iterate into an integer. So this is what it means that sets are an iterable collection, which means you can traverse and we can access elements from a set object. And we will come to that part also when we will use loops. I will show you how to access elements of a set and how to uh, manipulate that, right? And now next is uses of set. So sets are useful in removing duplicates from a list. It is useful to find out common and uncommon elements from multiple objects. And it is used to query database as well. This is actually a practical application where sets are used in querying the database. And set object itself is not hashable. We should remember this, that set object itself is not hashable, but all the elements of a set object must be hashable. Again, just remember this point right now and don't stress about it right now. Once we cover the hashing concept, and then point number 4 and point number 7 will be all clear to all of you, right? So now I think we are ready to move into set methods in Python, right? So set methods in Python, like let's say before we go into set methods in Python, let me just show you how we can create an empty set. That's a good question as well. Sometimes the interviewer asks this to the beginners, and most of them give give wrong answer to this question. Okay, so let me see here. Let me, for documentation part, I'm going to write a print statement here where I'm going to print this hyphen and let me say times 20. I hope you are familiar with the print statements and how they work. And I will show you in a minute why I'm writing all this. Empty set and comma. I'll use another hyphen and times 20, right? Yeah, here. All right. Now let me just save it and run it so I can just show you. So this is what my line number 15 did to the output. So I'll be using such things in my code again and again just to make the readability, to make the output more readable to you. Because when in the later, I'll tell you that all these notes and these resources, which I'm going to cover in my video here, uh, I will provide it to you, and so that it will be easy to learn for you guys. And what you can do is when you run copy my code and you run your code yourself, then the output should be neat and clean, and it should be, you should be easily able to understand the output as well. So such kind of print statements we are going to use for every subtopics of set data type, which we are going to learn in this video, right? So after printing this, now let me comment a line, and I will say here how to create an empty set. Sorry, how to create an empty set. Now, a lot of people reply here that just like, let me again take an example of a list. So when you say L1 is equal to just the square brackets, this is an empty list. Like I can show you if we print type of L1, and then if I try to print this and run this, and it will say it is a class list, right? So type of L1 is a list, empty square brackets. But sets are different. So when instead of this, if I say S is equal to empty curly braces, and then I try to print a type of S here, this will not be a set because empty curly braces are a dictionary in Python. So if we try to run this, you can see that it says class dict. So this is a dict object, dictionary object. This is not a set. So for creating an empty set, uh, the actual answer is we need to create the set object like that. So you just see, type this set and then parentheses. So this creates a set object. And this is on the right hand side of this assignment operator. The equal to here, if you are familiar with the operators, this equal to sign here is the assignment operator, which means is like the right hand side is being assigned to the left hand side. So you create a set object here like that, and you assign that object to a reference variable, and you can name the reference variable whatever you want. You can name it whatever you want, but I'm just referring by the name S. So this is S is just a reference variable which is going to point to the set object in Python. Now this is set object, which is just an empty set basically. And then when we try to print type of S now, and you save your project and run it, and you can see here it is saying class set, right? So this is how we can create the empty set object. Now also let me write down another print statement for documentation. So I'll say this is just a text, simple text I'm writing. And uh, so what I wrote here is S empty set, and then I'm gonna display its value in the output. So I'm using the variable name S here, right? So I'm save it. I'm gonna run it. So basically this is empty set, which is coming from line number 15. Then print type S, line number 18, the output is here. It is a set object. Line number 20. So this is the output for line number 20 here, which says S empty set colon and then the value of S. The value of S is this empty set object. So it is displaying that. Okay, now moving on next, we have here, I'll just copy this line again and paste it here. Now let's say next thing is how to create a set. How to create a set. Let me put a question mark here. Okay. Now let me save it. Now again, I'll comment this line. So I am using these comments in between, so it will be easy for you to understand what we are doing in the next code, in the following code after that line. This is why we are using these comments in between, right? So we go next and we type in here how to create a set, which I have already showed you. We just use curly braces here, and this is how we create a set. It's easy. So use here S1, and let me write a text, original set, original set, and then I'll display the value of the set S1, right? Let me save it and let me try to run it. So line number 22 here, here's the output for that. And then line number 26, we are printing S1 original set and the value of S1, which is right here. S1 original set and its value is printed right here. So this is how you can go along with the code and your output all together, both at the same time, and make sure. So this is basically, this will help you whenever you are reading this code, even after like 5 6 months. You just have to have this file with you, and whenever you will open it, you will see these comments in the documentation. You will see this information, what the file is about, and all these comments in the middle and the print statements. All this will help you to understand your code better and to understand your output. It will give you a clean output, right? So this is why we are doing that. Now we know how to create an empty set and how to create an actual set. Now let's move to the next topic. So let me copy this line again. I'll print it here. And next topic will be um, set methods, right? We are going to discuss set methods. And I'll add a comment here, how to use set methods. Okay, now again, I'm going to print this line here. Because the first method we are going to discuss here, let me give a space here. So first method which we are going to discuss here is add method, right? So add method. Let's see. Again, I have some notes here for that. Let me just copy this from here. Go back to my code and I'll paste it. Okay. So if you are familiar with functions and methods, how they work in Python, the functions have some parameters. There are some functions which don't take any parameter. There are some functions which take parameters, and some functions have no return type, like their return type is none, and some functions return something. So I hope you are familiar with all these concepts, because that will help us to learn when we apply these methods to a set object, right? So let's say add method, it will add elements to a set, right? So this is the definition of the add method. What add method is going to do is it's going to add elements to a set. Now what parameters does add method takes? So I will show you in a minute. It says a single element or a tuple, right? And its return type is none. It's not going to return anything. So basically, when it says return type is none, and when we add something to an existing set, it is gonna update the existing set by adding the element that we want to add to it. And it is not going to give you a new set. It is not going to return a new set. It will only make changes to the existing object, right? Don't worry, we are about to learn it practically as well. So since set can't store duplicate elements, if we try to add an object which is already present, and then it will not add it to the set. This basically we already know, but we are going to see here. Now let's see some examples of add. Now we have our set here, 1 2 3, right? S1 on line number 24. Now over here, S1, let me try to add something over here. Now, if you see the definition, it takes a single element or a tuple. Now let's try to add a single element. Now let me try to add a string here, hello, right? And let us try to add some more stuff here. Let me try to add another integer 25 and s1 dot add. I'll try to add 3 here. Now, if you see here, 3 is already there, right? But I am trying to show you this, like I'm trying to add another 3, and it will not add a duplicate because, as you already know, sets don't contain any duplicates. Now, I'll also add a comment here, trying to add existing uh, element to a set. P is already an existing element to a set. So when we'll add it, it will ignore it, right? And so we can add hello to a set, 25 to a set, and 3 to a set. Now at this point, let me just quickly show you how our set1 S1 looks. And I'm just going to print it. Okay. So line number 31 here, we printed this add method, and in the output, it is shown over here. And after that, this is all our code we are writing. These are multi-line comments, and line number 41, 42, 43, we added these elements to that set. So initially set one had 1, 2, 3 elements in there. Now after that, we added hello, we added a string. So you can see hello here. And then we added 25, and you can see 25 here, right? And then we tried to add 3 again, and it ignored it, and it is only showing you once here because it is a duplicate. So this means that set allows heterogeneous data. Like it's not only that you can only add integers to a set, you can add different data types into a set, like integer, strings. You can add tuple to a set, but all the elements of a set must be hashable, which that point we will discuss in detail later. Now, on line number 45, I just showed you how to print it, how the set S1 looks right now. Now, after this, as you can see here, parameters, these are the parameters. It says single element, add method takes only single element or a tuple. Now, all these we tried to add were just single elements, right? A string, it's a single element, integer, it's a single element, right? But now let's also try to add a tuple. Now, when we try to add a tuple, like let me take a tuple. A tuple is with these round brackets, if you are familiar with tuple. And then let me try to add this. Now, right now we are adding a tuple which has 2 elements, 5 and 6, right? And let's see how the set looks right now. Now I'm trying to print here is S1 and after add, right? So by reading this print statement, you will be able to remember that this output is after adding elements to a set, right? So let me try to run it. Okay, now see here, right? So if you can see the output here and you compare it with the line number 47, so this is the text we added, S1 after add and colon. And after that, what I asked to print, I asked to print the value of set S1. Now let's do a quick recap here. S1 was 1, 2, 3, which is already there. And then after that, we added hello, we added 25, hello, 25. We added 3 since it was duplicate, it was ignored by Python. And then we added a tuple, right? we added a tuple. So this whole tuple is added as just one element to a set, right? So remember that. So what add method does is if we try to add a tuple to an existing set, it will add the whole tuple as one single element to a set. Because as you can see here, this whole thing, it is one single element added to a set. So if you want to count how many elements are there in a set in total, it's like one, two, three, and fourth is a string, right? And fifth is a tuple, so five, and then sixth is another integer, 25. So in total here, we only have six total elements in a set. So don't count 5 and 6 as two different integers as elements of a set, because this whole thing is a tuple, and that's how it is added as a single element to a set, right? So in total, there are 6 elements of a set. So, okay. So this was about add method, and I showed you both parameters, how it takes both parameters, and return type is none. So basically, if you see here what I mean by return type none, and it will only make changes to existing object, is that so whenever we are doing adding all this data to the set, it is making changes to the existing object. Which what is the existing object? The existing object is S1 here. S1 is the existing object. So whenever we add something to a set, it is only making changes to existing object, and it is not returning you a new set. So I hope you're familiar with return types of the methods, and you should be able to understand this point. Okay, now let's move forward. Next, we are going to learn about clear method. Okay, so let me go to my notes. Before I copy this, let me add another print statement from here. Now, next method is going to be, copy this and paste here, is going to be clear method. Okay. Now, let me just copy the code from here for clear method. Okay. Back to PyCharm, paste it here. Okay, now let's quickly see what clear method does in Python. Now, clear method in set, it removes all elements from a set, regardless of how many elements you have in a set object. It will remove all the elements from a set. Now, it does not take any parameter, so it takes 0 parameters, and its return type is none. So it is not going to return you an empty set or anything. Its return type is none. It will also work on the existing object. So basically, we have this set S1 here. If we try to use clear method on that, and all these things that you will see, you are currently seeing in a set, these will all go away, right? So let me try to show you again here. If I say S1 dot clear here, right? S1 dot clear, that's how you can use like all these methods that we are using, add, clear, and the coming up methods, these are native methods to a set. So native methods to a set, you can only use these by adding a dot after the set object, like s1 dot, and then all the methods you can use here, like add, clear, and there will be a lot more coming. So s1 dot clear. Now let me save it, and let me try to print, right? Because without printing, we will not be able to see what are the elements of set now. Now let me print here that after clear, basically after using clear method, and then how the set looks like, comma, and then you print the value of S1 here. And I will save it and I will try to run it. So here it is. Like after the add method, our set was looking like this, right? And this is the coming up from this highlighting part is coming up from line number 47, right? Then line number 49 is printed out here. After that, s1 dot clear is what we used here. Now we are printing like s1 after clear and then the value of s1. So basically, after we use the clear method, it is showing you a set object, which is an empty set object. This means that clear method, it removed all the elements from a set. And if you see here, we did not pass any parameter to a clear function. Just like we added these parameters to the add function, clear method does not take any parameter. So it takes 0 parameters and its return type is none. It is not returning you anything, but it is making changes to the existing set, which was the set S1. And after that, we try to print S1 here. All right, I hope you're pretty clear over here. Now let's move on to our next method. So our next method is going to be a remove method, right? But before that, again, um, let me use copy this line here. Now here we are going to type remove method. Oh no, I think let me use this. Okay. Instead of clear, we are now going to learn remove method, right? All right. So let me take some notes for remove method from here. All right, copy. And we paste it here. All right. Now remove method. Let's quickly understand this one. So it says remove method, it removes a specific element from a set. All right, so which this definition is a lot different from the clear method because clear method removes everything from a set and then remove method removes a specific element from a set. Okay, now next thing is parameters. Remove a method takes a single element or a tuple as a parameter, right? And return type is none. Again, it will work on the existing object. It is not going to return you a new set after doing any operation. Remove method gives key error if the element you want to remove is not present in the set. Okay, so this sounds interesting. Now let's take another set, which is S2, and we can have some elements in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right now, I am going to remove uh, an element from a set. Now let's say if I take an example here, if I try to remove an element 4. So 4 is an element of a set, right? And if I'm trying to remove it, first let me quickly show you how the set S2 looks here. Print S2, right? Let me save it and I try to run it. Now see, remove method. So we had a set S2 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then I removed an element from a set. I removed a specific element from a set, which was 4. Now, after I removed it, it is giving me S2 as 1, 2, 3, and 5. So 4 has been removed. So that's good. Now it also says that if the element is not present in a set, and if we try to remove an element which is not present in a set, it will give us a key error, right? So let's check that out. Now, after we remove 4, now let's say I do s2 dot remove. Let's say I try to remove 60 from the set, right? And I save it and I try to run it and I try to print the value of S2 on the console. So as you can see, it is key error 60. Now, because 60 is not there in the existing set S2, so it cannot remove it. So since it cannot remove it, since it remove method did not find 60 in the set, that's why it is giving you a key error 60, because it cannot find that element in the set, right? So this is what happens. I will comment this line and I will keep it in the documentation, so you can uncomment it to verify whenever you are going to practice it on your own, right? So I will mention it that once you run the code and if you try to uncomment it and run it on your machine, then it will give you a key error. I have mentioned it over here. That's just for your learning purpose. Um, and then after commenting it, I will try to write a print statement, and right here is S2, and this is after remove, right? After remove, and then how it looks from S2, right? So again, I will run it. So this line is not going to make any difference because I commented it out. And then this is how your S2 looks now after removing element 4 from it, from there, right? All right, now we go to our next method, which is discard. Okay, so before we go there, let me copy this line here, and then I go here. So after remove, we are going to discuss discard method. Okay. Okay, so let me code from here for the discard method. Back here. Right, discard method. So what discard method does? Discard method actually works the same way as remove method, but the only difference is if the element is not present in the set, it will ignore it and it will not give you any key error. So that's a pretty good point about discard, and it is self-explanatory as well, but I will show you an example as well. The parameters are the same, just like the remove method. It takes a single element or a tuple as a parameter, and return type is none. So let me show you this. So basically, I'll take the same example of the S2 set, which had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we removed 4. And then 1, 2, 3, and 5 is what it looks. Now, S2 dot discard. And if I try to discard 60 here, which we were trying to do it by the remove method, and I try to discard 60 now. Now, if I try to print S2, like let me print S2 after discard. And let me try to print the value of S2. All right, I'll save it and I'll run it. Okay, so discard method, and after discard method. So this is S2 after discard method and the value of S2. So basically it is showing you the S2 from here, because we removed 4 here, and then the elements of S2 are 1, 2, 3, and 5. And when we try to use discard, and we try to discard 60 element from there, instead of giving us a key error, it did not give us any key error. Basically, if it didn't find the element, it did not give us any error and it ignored it. And then it's still, the S2 is still the same, 1, 2, 3, and 5. So this is the only difference between a discard method and a remove method, because as you can see, remove method will give us an error if it cannot find the element that we are trying to remove in the set. But on the other hand, discard will not give you any error. If it cannot find that element in the set, it will ignore it, right? So this can also be a simple interview question. What is the difference between remove and discard and set? So I hope you are clear about that. Now next is copy method. So let me just take this and copy here. All right. All right. Copy method. So let me get the code from here. Copy method. Paste it here. Let's see what copy does. So copy method actually returns a shallow copy of the set, right? And parameters, it does not take any parameter. So we cannot pass anything when we are using copy method in the parentheses here. And shallow copy of the set is what its return type is. Okay, so this return type is a lot different from the earlier methods that we just saw, because here it is going to return a new copy of the existing set, which will be a shallow copy of a set, and it is not going to make any changes to the existing set. Whereas the earlier methods were making changes to the existing set, right? Add method was adding new elements to the existing set, which was S1 here. Then clear method was clearing the elements from the existing set, which was S1, right? And all the other methods which we saw till now. But copy method is not going to change anything in the existing set. And instead, it is going to return you a shallow copy of the set, of a new set. Basically, of the existing set, it will give you a shallow copy. Now, important here is that copy method creates and returns an object of the original set, whereas the assignment operator will use multiple references for the same object. Okay, so assignment operator. So let's say we have a set S3, which is equal to 1, comma 2, comma 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these are the elements of a set. And let me say here that S4 is equal to S3. So what this means is, so S3 is just a reference variable name. And this reference variable S3 is just a name, and it is referring to an object, a set object in the memory, which has all these elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what it means by line number 103. So basically we are, when we say S4 is equal to S3, we are just trying to refer the same object. The object will be just the same object, and it will be referred by another variable which is called S4, right? So to give you a proof of this thing, so if you have ever used something called, in Python there is something called ID of an object. So when you say print ID of S3, right? Also let me add some text. Location of S3, right? So what happens here? So what this ID function does is it will give you a location of this particular object in the memory. So when we say in the memory, we are talking about when you execute your Python code, and the memory we are referring to is your RAM, random access memory. And in that memory, these objects are created. So these are physical objects that are created in the memory. They are stored for some time over there, and then later on they are destroyed. But this we are going too much into technical part right now. But only thing you have to understand from here is that ID of any object that we say here, it will give you the location of that object in the memory. Now, when we are saying S4 is equal to S3, So it's not like that there are two different objects now. So S4 is not a different object and S3 is not a different object. They are just two different names for the same object, and the same object is this physical object. This is a set object with six different elements, and then this same object is being referred by a variable name which is called S3, and also it is going to be referred by another name which is S4, which we just assigned. So to give you a proof of that, as I told you, ID will give us the location of S3 in the memory. Then let me just copy this. And then we are going to get the location of S4 in the memory with ID of S4. So now you save it, and when you run it, you can see it's the same location of S3 in memory. That means this object which we are referring to, and ID function here is giving us the location of that object in the memory, which is this. And when we say S4 is equal to S3, it is also giving us the location of S4 here, ID of S4. So since both the IDs are same for S3 and S4, that means it is only one single object. Physically in the memory, it is only one single object, which is this, and it is being referred to by two different reference variables, S3 and S4, right? So this is what it is saying, that like the assignment operator will use multiple references for the same object. So this is the example of that. So this does not mean that we are copying that object, because by using this line S4 is equal to S3, we did not copy the object. We only gave the same object a different variable name, right? So, but instead, what copy function will do, that's what we are going to discuss now. Now, let's say over here, if I say S5 is equal to S3 dot copy, right? S3 dot copy. Now, here what will happen is I will put down some comment here. So here, copy method will return a separate shallow copy of S3 uh, of S3 and referred by S5, right? So by using this line S5 is equal to S3 dot copy, your copy method will return a separate shallow copy of S3 and it will be referred by S5. This is what is meant by this line. So I can also write like this, S3 dot copy, right? Just S3 dot copy. But what happens here is S3 dot copy is not going to make any changes to the existing object. Here, since we are performing this copy method to the S3 object, so S3 is our existing object, right? So copy function, it has a return type of shallow copy of a set. So it is returning us something, but it is not making changes to the existing object. Now, since it is returning us a shallow copy of that object, so then we must assign that shallow copy and then to a different variable. So s3 dot copy here, and here we should say s5, right? Like that. So s5 is equal to s3 dot copy. And now whatever copy function is returning, it is returning shallow copy of the set, and we are going to refer that shallow copy by the name s5. This is what we are doing in this line. Right now, Now let's print some few items here. So to verify whatever we did here, so S3 is original set, right? And original set is S3, comma, I will print the value of S3. And then let's say, right, now let's say print, also I will print S4. And this is after assignment operator. And then I'll print the value of S4. Now also I will print S5. This is after copy method, right? Now after copy method, let me print S5. Okay. So let's see what we did here. So when we started copy method and then we printed out locations of S3 and S4, which are exactly the same. So assignment operator we already discussed. And now after that we did S3 original set, which is, and then the value of S3, which is just this. Now after assignment operator, which is S4, the value of S4. Since S4, we mentioned S4 equal to S3, S4 is the same. And then S5 after copy method. So this is after we used copy method on S3, right? S5. Now the key point to see here is if I add more text to this line here, and then let me give it some space, and I also print ID, or I'll print ID of S3 here, right? And comma, I print ID of S3. Okay, just be careful. What we are doing here is after the value of S3 in this line, I just gave two spaces here and then another text ID of S3, and we are also going to print value of ID over here on line number 110. So I'm doing this because we needed to compare it with the ID of S5 now, which is a shallow copy. So let's say over here, I do ID of S5 and comma ID of S5, right? Okay. So now if I try to run it, okay, so now you can see here. So the IDs of S3 and S4 were the same, right? As we discussed already. But ID of S3 and S5 is different. ID of S3 and ID of S5 is different. So this is what it was meant by copy method. That copy method creates and returns a new object of the original set. Basically, a new shallow copy of the original set it gives you. It is not the same object. So I hope you understand what copy method did and how in comparison to just the assignment operator. Assignment operator just gives you another name uh, for us to refer the same object. But copy method, it actually creates a physical actual copy of that shallow copy of that existing set, which was S3 over here, and it created a new copy, which was S5. So basically, this is a proof that in the memory, these were two different objects, right? All right. So I think we should stop here for the part one. Okay. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to give you a quick sneak peek at what's coming up next for sets in Python. So we have we will obviously cover some remaining set methods over there in the upcoming tutorials, and how sets work with different operators. We are going to cover this, how built-in functions like length, minimum, max, all, any, and sorted method, how all these built-in functions in Python, how these work with set. We are going to discuss that, and we are going to learn how loops work with set comprehensions. We are going to discuss chaining of set methods, interview questions on sets. We also will cover, and not only this, but we will also simultaneously. I'm going to start Python tutorial videos from scratch, where we will start from Python introduction, installation, and we'll go in sequence. So basically, there's a lot coming up for Python tutorials, and most of my tutorials will be a bit long because that's because we will be diving deep into each topic to help you build a strong foundation. So, by covering a lot of details on each concept, you will gain a solid understanding that will serve you well in the long run. And so, while these tutorials may take some time, but the knowledge you will walk away with will be worth it. So, please like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss upcoming tutorials. Also, if you feel the content was helpful for you in learning new concepts, so you can consider supporting me on Ko-Fi. So I have the Ko-Fi is a platform, and I have this is my page on Ko-Fi. I'll share this link in the description box as well. So that's my Ko-Fi page. You can check out, and here you can support me. You can make a one-time donation to support my channel, and also, you can, if you want to unlock exclusive resources, you can join my Ko-Fi membership. So you can go to my membership page from here, and that's my membership page. So basically, if you become my member, your members get free access to all my tutorial resources like the code snippets, the documents and notes from each tutorial video that I post on YouTube. So you will get all exclusive access to all those things for free after becoming my member. And also, I do have a third option where you can go to my shop page. And here you can see on the shop page, there is something called member only. So member only will get the access. Like this is a video for from today's video. These are the resources that you can access and download on your machine for free. This is for member only, and also we have a section over here for Python for non-members. So for even for non-members, if they don't want to go with a monthly membership, you can choose to go with my Ko-Fi. You can come to my Ko-Fi shop, and then you can purchase these individual resources for $3. Basically, it is right now, and in future there will be a lot of resources I'll be posting over here for each tutorial video I post on YouTube, and then you can purchase whatever specific resources that you need for any topic, right? So this will be for non-members, and these are for will be for members. It will be free. So thank you very much. Thanks again for your support. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.